Today we continue with our class Hilchot Talmud Torah, laws of learning of the Torah, and today is class number 2. And we start with Sefer Chofetz Chaim, and we continue with our list of 7 conditions for Rechilus, for constructive purpose. Now speaking for constructive purpose. So we're up to condition number 6. Weighing the opinions. Condition number 6. As with Lashon Hara, one may not relate Rechilus for a constructive purpose if this purpose can be accomplished through other means. Okay. So as we said, maybe you go talk to this guy, rebuke him, or do something indirectly. Right? Of course, the easiest of all is a direct approach informing the potential victim of what is being plotted and allowing him to fend for himself. Okay, that's the easiest way. The Torah, however, views this avenue as a last resort. If the opinion exists, if the option exists, one must protect the victim without his even suspecting that someone is attempting to harm him. This opinion does not apply when it is important for the potential victim to be on guard should the other party attempt to harm him in a later point in time. So if it's possible somehow, of course it depends on the situation, to protect this victim, maybe it's one-time thing, right? To block somehow this offender, right? So that's what we must do. But otherwise, like if this thing can reoccur, of course you cannot always be around. So of course you can inform him if needed. Obviously, there is a limit of how much effort one is required to invest in protecting his fellow Jew from harm when the person is fully capable of protecting himself. Right? It's very valid point. If you start like creating all of these roundabout ways instead of telling him, and how much time is going to take you, and it's going to be time instead of learning Torah, which is not good. If in order to avoid involving the potential victim, one have to dedicate an unreasonable amount of time and energy, it would be permissible to inform the person so that he can protect himself. And so, as we said, it depends. So they say if it's, if it would require hours upon hours during the day, right? And if person is busy as it is, so of course, it's not required to spend all of this extra time. Okay, stop here. So we continue with Hilchot Talmud Torah, chapter 1, and Halachah number 4. Okay, Halachah number 4. Let's read this Halachah without commentary first. Oh, it's very short. If person wants to study Torah and he has a son, whom he should teach Torah, his own study takes priority over that of his son. If his son is wiser and more creative thinker, and can understood what he studies more than he himself, his son is given priority. Even though his son is granted a priority, he should not neglect his own studies. For just as he is commanded to teach his son, he is commanded to teach himself. So it's a very important point. Some people have this mistaken belief that if they invest a lot of money, a lot of energy in the education of their children, right, they send them to good yeshivas and stuff like that. So it means that they absolve from studying Torah, and it's very common. He said, no, he said, Rabbi, I'm not that smart, I'm not that advanced. But my son, let him learn. So which is not true, absolutely not true, as Rambam is saying. Okay, so let's do from the beginning with commentaries. If a person wants to study Torah and he has a son whom he should teach Torah, his own study takes priority over his son. So he wants to study Torah and he has a son. So what does it mean, 26? And his financial capabilities allows only one of them to study. So it's very interesting. So he goes to study Torah, meaning the father. And it does not say here, but maybe it's going to say here. But But it's very possible that he can teach his son himself, because he's going to study. But if son is going to study, if he's and then going to pay money for the education of his son would not be able to teach his father, most likely. You understand? That's the thing. So commentary. So in commentary in the piece where it says, and his own study takes priority over that of his son. So if he is smarter, son is not that advanced, not that sharp, this and that, and he wants to study, meaning father, he must study. So he's, of course, if it's money allows to study for only one, of course. 27. Kiddushin 29b relates that Rav Acha Bar Yaakov sent his son to study under the Abaye's tutelage. Abai is the best. When his son returned, he saw that the son was not had not mastered his subject matter. Rav Acha told him, "Remain here, and I will go to study." Right? Shulchan Aruch Harav, Hilchot Talmud Torah, Kuntres Aharon, limits this line since noting that a father has no right to ignore his son's education entirely, regardless of his own ability for advancement. Rather, this applies after the son is gained the basic Torah knowledge and seeks to continue his study. Right? So let's combine the whole answer together. So if son is if father wants to study Torah and son wants to study Torah, so the father's study takes priority. So I guess, as we explained here, that son is not that advanced, not that smart, right? But even if he's not that smart anyway, as a commentary say, you have to give him basic education. Okay, he has to able at least to read and understand Chumash and stuff like that. Basic education you must give him, right? So he can maybe now he's not that advanced, but maybe in a few years he would be a little smarter and would be able to pick up. But at least he would have base. He would be able to open the book and read on his own. Continue. If his son is wiser and a more creative thinker, and can understand what is his studies more than he himself, his son is given priority. So Rambam is very clear. Even though the father has not received any grounding for study, even though the father has not received any grounding in Torah study. Okay. Shulchan Aruch Harav and Hilchot Talmud Torah 1:7. Okay, so basically, if one more time, if only one person can go study, and of course the son is smarter, so we give precedence to son. Okay, because he can learn things on his own, meaning derive one thing from another. Not just some people just memorize things and they know the answer, but if you ask them in a straightforward way, but if you ask them in a roundabout way, add few details to the situation, they get stuck. It's very interesting. So that's not the person we are talking about here, right? That know the concept and know how to derive one thing from another. Continue. Even though his son is granted priority, he should not neglect his own studies. Right? So son, okay, person send his son to yeshiva and stuff like that, and he pays a lot, and maybe he works 2 jobs, which is very not uncommon, right? In order to pay for children's education on one hand. On another hand, he must study on his own. He's not excluded, right? Commentary. Rather, he should establish fixed times to study Torah. So if a person is working, let's say normal, like most of us work in shifts or a day job, night shifts, whatever we work, we must have, at least men must have study sessions in the morning and at night. Okay, so of course, if possible during the day, but that's the minimum requirement, morning and night. Okay, so let me read the whole sentence. Even though his son is granted priority, he should not neglect his own studies. For just as he is commanded to teach his son, he is commanded to teach himself. It's very straightforward. And there is, I mean, after 120 years, when he's going to come to the judgment in Shamayim, so they're going to the second question. Then they're going to ask him if he established the fixed time for studying Torah. So it's very important to establish the fixed time and not to say no, I'm going to maybe I'll try to wake up a little early in the morning before the job, before the davening, and I'm going to study at night, whatever, after before going to bed. So guess what? If he said so, maybe he would be able to do it 2 days, 3 days, and that's it. He's going to fail. So a person has to give him have a established schedule. I'm going to learn. I'm just saying 6:30 to 7:30 in the morning. That's it. That's my learning time. That's it. Whatever happens doesn't matter. He must not cancel this time. Whatever happens. Same at night. Unless somebody is sick, somebody is dying, then you cancel. But otherwise, you don't cancel. For any events, they invite you to birthday, to wedding. Okay, unless you're a groom, so the wedding can go on without you, for sure. Continue. There is, though enabling one's son to study and studying by oneself are included in the same mitzvah, a person cannot fulfill his obligation solely through the facilitating his son's study. Rather, he must set aside time to learn himself, because the mitzvah of twofold in nature, right? So, at least a very, very minimum, a person studies in order to do the mitzvahs. Otherwise, how does he know? How does he know, what blessing to make on the food? What is cover what? So, we learned in a class today, it's a different class. We're going through Shulchan Aruch, right? And there we said that sometimes bread is secondary. Not always the bread is primary and covers everything. Sometimes other foods are primary and bread is secondary. So people were very surprised. But in order to get to it, you need to study in depth. Okay. So Halachah number 5. A person should always study Torah and afterwards marry. If he marries first, his mind will not be free for study. However, if his natural inclination overcomes him to the extent that his mind is not free, he should marry and then study Torah. So Rambam is very clear. And let's see, we're going to go with commentary and explanations. So from the beginning. A person should always study Torah and afterwards marry. So Torah is the first commentary. There is, even if he is older than 17, the age of which, according to Rambam's interpretation, the Mishnah Avos 5:22, that suggests one to marry. Okay. So he is older, even though the Mishnah in Perek Avos said if he is 17, he should marry. Right? Today, maybe it's not that applicable. And today, usually they get married, people get married a little later, maybe in 20, 19, but not 17, maybe 22, 21, 22. So, but 17 is a little amateur. I mean, unless they're very mature. Of course, there are exceptions. Okay. So even as the commentary say, even he's 17 or 18, whatever age he is, and it's time to him to get married. So let him go study, and that's what people do after graduating from yeshiva. So they're 17 years old. So they go for a year or 2 years to study in Israel. From here in America, on a different yeshiva. So some people cannot afford, of course, it costs a lot of money. So they go to different yeshiva just to study, just to get the very strong base. And then after he has established his strong base, so he can go to and get married, get a job and stuff like that. So that's Torah approach. Okay, so he has to study Torah and afterwards marry. 32. In Hilchot Yishut 15 Halachas 1 through 3, the Rambam writes that the mitzvah of studying Torah is sufficient cause to postpone the mitzvah of having children. Furthermore, even if one's desire to study is so great that one never marries, it is not considered a sin. That's on one hand, maybe it's not considered a sin if he does not marry and all his life study, but he did not do the positive mitzvah, which is the positive mitzvah is to get married and have children, and all other mitzvahs that correspond to having children. Okay. Continue. So first we study. We have we established like Torah mind as much as we can. It depends on the person. Some people study for 1 year, 2 years, as I said, but the more the better. Maybe 3 years, and then he has time to get married and have children and go to work and all other things. Continue. If he marries first, his mind will not be free to study. The simple explanation, now he has to pay his own rent, right? He has to pay for his own grocery and stuff like that, and for him, his wife, he has to get his medical insurance, this and that. But while he lives with the parents, it's paradise, right? So it's totally different. So he got married, even though his wife, let's say, she works or he works part-time, I don't know, he goes to study, still it's like pressure from all of these payments, bills. It's huge. Commentary. With a millstone around his neck, with a millstone around his neck, will he be able to accompany himself in Torah study? It should. It says exclamation, but I think it should be like a question mark, right? It's from Kiddushin 29b. So with the millstone, or with all this problem, as we explained, about around his neck, right? And maybe he has children, after a year of the marriage, and of course that's a lot of pressure. So it's better just follow the Torah wisdom, and you go study, and then you marry. However, if the natural inclination overcomes him to the extent that his mind is not free, he should marry and then study Torah. So his mind is not free, 24, and he's continually preoccupied with the sexual thoughts. Concerning this, Yoma 29a teaches the thought of the sin are more severe than the sin itself. Right? It's very famous concept that the thought of the sin is more than the sin itself. So sin he did once, okay, and he forgot about it. Maybe it was not as pleasurable as he originally thought, but thought of the sin, it's like continuously in his mind. And of course, people have imagination, and in imagination, everything is much better than it actually is. Whatever with everything, right? Even with the food. So a person was craving this food, and then he had, and that's what I was craving for a year. Let's say, I don't know. I'm just saying, right? That's nothing special. She was craving for sushi. Then they had stomach ache. Okay, but the thought of the sins are killing the person. Okay. And if he has these thoughts, so parents must see it, like if that's the personality of the man, or even if it's a girl, so you have to like marry them as soon as possible to keep them hanging, because it's only a matter of time before disaster is going to strike. And I had in one of the people that I learn with, every day we learn, 5 days a week, not a day, 5 days a week we learn, and he had I don't know how many sons. He has a lot of sons, maybe 6 or 7 sons. And it was a wedding of, I think, the oldest son, I think. And then we saw the youngest, and you see the youngest, how he's with the guests, with the ladies. I came over to him, I said, you have to marry this one. He said, no. Everybody knows that this guy, you have to marry, even though he's the youngest. I'm not sure how old was he at that time. Maybe he was 19, 20. So they got them married like very soon, even before the other brothers, because it was like disaster in making. I mean, very nice personality, but Okay, so that's a responsibility of the parents to see it. So in this case, if you see this kind of person, he should marry and then study Torah. 35. So about this family, so the oldest son, I mean, he was so much into Torah, he did not want to get married. I mean, he got married. Maybe he was 26 already. I mean, they pressured him, everybody. So he got married. He was fine, but the youngest was fire. Okay. No, not the youngest. The younger is in a marriageable age. Let's put it this way. Okay. 35. Consoling himself with the knowledge that he will still be able to study for 2 or 3 years before his financial burdens burden becomes great. Okay. So meaning go and marry and then study Torah maybe for a few more years. Okay. So continue. Any questions on what we said? Okay, so we continue with Halachah number 6. And it says, at what age the father is obligated to teach his son? That's, all of these questions, all these halachas, very, very practical, applies to us every day of our lives, right? At what age the father is obligated to teach his son? Number 36. Though Avos 5:22 states, at 5 one should begin to study scripture, the Rambam based on the Sukkah 42a explains that the certain elements of child study must begin earlier. So of course we don't wait until 5 years old, even like 2 years old when they start speaking. You start teaching them little by little. You say Shema Israel and other things. Say Amen, say blessings. I mean, they can, little kids can do a lot, 3 years old. So continue with Rambam. When a child begins to speak, his father should teach him Torah, Tziva, Lonu Moshe. As it says in Dvarim 33, 4, verse 4, and Shema Israel. Okay, so let's see. Torah, Tziva, Lonu Moshe, 37. So the translation of the verse. The Torah Moshe commanded us is an inheritance of congregation of Yaakov. So that's the first verse of the Torah that we teach our children. The Torah commanded us is an inheritance of congregation of Yaakov. This verse emphasizes the fundamental connection a Jew has to the Torah. As soon as the heir is born, he becomes a legal owner of an inheritance left to him. So Torah is given us as inheritance, right? So we pass it down to all of the generations. I mean, since this heir is born, so for example, how do we have physical things, physical possessions? So he said, okay, father said, you see this house, you see this, factory, whatever he has. You see my toolbox, I don't know, after I die, it's going to be yours. So he prepares the son that he's going to be owner. So same with Torah. So the Havdal. I mean, Torah first, but just for us to get an idea. So the Torah is inheritance. You have to teach them. You have to give them over wherever they have to inherit. Thus, since the Torah is every Jew's inheritance, as soon as a child is born, he acquires his full share of our nation's spiritual heritage. So chapter 3, Halachah 1. Okay, we're going to get to it. Right? So it's spiritual heritage of every Jew. Okay, and second commentary, Shema Israel. So a translation of the verse. Hear Israel, God is our Lord, God is one. This verse emphasizes the fundamental unity between God and creation. Teaches us that not only that there is only one God, but also that all creation is one with Him. So there is nobody else, right? But HaShem, He is one, He is undivided, He is the only one. Okay, that's what we have to teach children, and so they would be afraid only on one entity, which is HaShem, not of anything else. Okay. So continue. The menorah Hamaor, Menarat Hamaor, and Rashi, Dvarim 11:19, emphasize that child needs not understand the verse he is reciting. The recitation of these verses refines the power of speech and makes lasting impression of his thinking process, even though he is unaware of the intellectual message. So don't worry about the children understand this verse, they're going to understand, right? But at least they would know what to understand. Understand? So it's very, very powerful message. So and plus they would develop the speech, right? Makes lasting impression on thinking. So all of these holy words of the Torah, they purify the soul. 28. Continue. Afterwards, he should teach him selected verse. So first, these two verses. That afterwards he should teach him selected verses, little by little, verse by verse, until he is 6 or 7, depending on his health. At which time he should take him to a teacher of young children. Okay. So let's start this piece from the beginning and this commentary. Afterwards, he should teach them selected verses, little by little, verse by verse, until he is 6 or 7. 29. Commentary. Until this age, the child lacks sufficient maturity to apply himself to his study diligently. So, I mean, he can study, but it's not like he's into playing more. Right? 6 or 7, he's a little more mature and capable of understanding. Okay, the source is Baba Basra 21a. Case of Mishnah 2.2 explains that this decision is no contradiction to the Mishnah in Avos quoted above. Right? The latter can be interpreted to mean that after completing 5 years, so after the 5 years, there is the beginning of the 6th year. So meaning what? So beginning of the, like 5 years and 1 day. So like on his birthday, it's like so his day of the birthday. I mean, they say it's already the next day. So it's like he entered his 6th year. And I don't want to confuse anybody, but he's 5, but he's going on 6. Right? That's why they say there is no contradiction. However, the Sefer Mitzvah Hagadol, Positive Commandment 12, interprets the injunction from Avos to mean that when the child becomes 5, his father teaches him to read at home, and when he becomes 6 or 7, he is taken to school. Okay. It is also possible to interpret the Rambam's words in this fashion. Okay. So, I mean that there is no contradiction. 5, and then when he's ready, 6 or 7, so you take him to school. Indeed, that interpretation is more likely. Though the above-mentioned Mishnah states at 18 one should marry, Rambam in Hilchot issued 15.2 states that a man is obligated to marry at the age of 17. Okay, so Mishnah said 18, 17, so why is that? Thus we see that he interpreted the different verses of the Mishnah to mean in his year he should marry, right? So meaning 17 and 1 day, it's already 18 years old. So it's not like Rambam does not know the translation of the numbers. He knows, of course, right? So I mean this translator, he did an amazing job reconciling. I mean, maybe it's not his ideas, but at least he compiled all of this small commentary. I mean, comparable to what was written on the Rambam, and reconcile all these questions that was asked on the Rambam. It's very interesting. 29. So one more time, let me read the whole sentence. Afterwards, he should teach the selected verses, little by little, verse by verse, until he is 6 or 7. Okay, we said that. Depending on his health. Sita Safos, Baba Kama, etc. So depending on his health, because, for example, if a child was sick for a long time, God forbid, lo Lerner, lo HaShem, right, and he's not as developed. So other kids, they're healthy, they go play with other children, they play with different toys, they develop their mind, but this, unfortunately, the child was staying at home like maybe 6 months, whatever, 9 months. So of course he's not as developed, and he's very, very weak, right? He also always need to lay down and stuff like that. That's Of course, we take all of these facts into consideration, right? Depending on his health, at which time he should take him to the teacher or young children. Okay, so it depends on the health and other things. 41. Kiddushin Torah A relates that the sages would physically take their children to their teachers. So it's that's the tradition even today. I'm not sure if everybody do it, but Hasidim and other people for sure do it, right? So we wrap this little boy into talis, right? And so he does not see where exactly he's going, but that he likes to be be held by the father, and the father carries him, and he stays with him at least one day. Sometimes you need to stay 2 or 3 days, and give it to the teacher, and teacher prepares like sweets, whatever this boy likes and stuff like that, and he teaches him little by little, 1 hour, 2 hours, to get the boy used to, and that's it. That's how it goes. To the teacher of young children, commentator, but the child will begin to study of the written law, or written Torah, in an organized fashion. So as we said before, the father teach him verse here, verse there, to see depends on how child is developed. Of course, by now the child must know all these blessings, like many halachos he would know, right? But to learn the Torah, maybe the father does not have such enough time, right? If he works full time, by the time he comes home, have his dinner, so that the child has to go to bed already, right? Baba Basra, same place, relates that Rabbi Yehoshua ben Gamla established the fixed rule requiring all parents to take their children to teachers at this time. Okay. See chapter 2, Halachah 1 and 2 for further elaborations. Okay, we're going to get to that. So let me check time. A second. Okay. So continue. Any questions on what we said? Okay, so we continue with Halachah number 7. If it is a local custom for a teacher of young children to take payment, he should be paid. The father is obligated to pay for his son's instruction until he can read the entire written Torah. No more, no less. In a place where it is customary to receive a wage for a teacher for teaching written Torah, one is permitted to do so. However, it is forbidden to take wage for teaching oral law, as applied in Dvarim 4:5, oral law. Behold, I have taught you laws and statutes as God commanded me. Just as I, Moshe, right, learned it at no cost, so too have you been taught from me at no cost. Teach the coming generations in like manner. Teach them at no cost, as you have learned from me. Okay. Nevertheless, if a person cannot find someone to teach him at no cost, he must pay for his studies, as implied in Proverbs 3:23, by truth. So just because it costs money and somebody only willing to do it for money, or he is maybe better qualified, maybe yes, maybe not. So many people think, as Rabbi Reuven told me, so when you do it for free, they don't value. When they pay like $100 an hour, so that's like normal study would cost, right? So then they appreciate very much. Unfortunately, it's a demented mentality. Does it better? Does the quality for free better? Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe better. Thus, it can be derived that it is forbidden to charge to teach Torah, even though one's teacher charges for instructing him. Okay. So let's see from the beginning. We're going to explain. Okay. So it says, if it is local custom for a teacher or young children to take payment, he should be paid. Commentary. is stated Halachah 3. Okay, we already said it. Okay. So basically, the idea is that the father must educate his son. Okay, if he's busy, he works 2 jobs, he has no time. So pay somebody else. I mean that's only logical and obvious. So he's he does not know how to fix his car. Okay, you don't know how to fix your car, so pay somebody else to fix your car. I mean there is no problem. Or stay home and learn. Maybe it would take you 3 days to change one brake, right? So it's better for you to pay to the mechanic, right? So same is here. Better pay the professional. The father is obligated to pay for his son's instructions until he can read the entire written Torah. Commentary on entire. The Chofetz and other commentaries explain that this word was added to include the works of the prophets and the holy writings, meaning that the word entire. There is entire Torah. So entire Torah, as we said, it's 24 books. Torah, prophets, and writings. Okay, 24. Tanakh. Okay. So which is a lot. Rashi Baba Basra, the same place, is not of this opinion and maintains that having him taught the 5 books of Moshe is sufficient. I think we will go by this opinion. I mean, if you start teaching him the whole Tanakh, and I don't know, I think it's over this child's head. The Sefer coin, Yoredea 245.5, follows the latter's opinion, while Shulchan Aruch Harav, Hilchot Talmud Torah 1.1, was the former view. Okay, no problem. So they read the entire written Torah. So 45. So all of these prophets, they also consider to be a written Torah, just so we know, right? So how many years it could take, I don't know, depends on the child. It could take a few years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I mean, it depends on his talents. 45. In his case of Mishnah, Rav Yosef Karo knows that Rambam's language implies that this constitutes the totality of the father's obligation. He is not obligated to instruct his son of the oral law. Right? It's very interesting, right? So meaning the father is obligated to teach him, according to some opinions only Chumash, according to other opinions the entire Torah, but that's it. So oral law, not obligated, meaning Talmud and Shulchan Aruch and other things. Rambam. In the Shulchan Aruch, Yoredea 245.6, he explained that the father's obligation also includes arranging his son's instruction in an oral law, unless his financial situation is too pressing to allow him to do so. So meaning if he has money, he's obligated to continue the child's obligation. If he does not, so he can go with a minimum requirement, which is what? Which is written Torah. In a place where it is customary to receive wage for teaching the written Torah, one is permitted to do so. Commentary. One is permitted to do so. I mean, where people pay, okay? And as we said, unless they want to teach themselves, there is no problem. If they're capable and they have time, let them teach themselves to the children. Otherwise, pay the teacher. Nedarim 37a relates that the wage of the teacher receives is not for actual tutelage, but rather for the efforts involved in caring for children. Right? Alternatively, the money can be taken for teaching the proper cantillation notes. Okay, so let's try to understand. As Rambam is going to teach us that same way that Moshe received the Torah for free, right? So written Torah, even though oral Torah also for free. Let's concentrate on the written Torah. So he received the oral Torah for free, so he has to give it to the nation of Israel for free, right? I mean, he has no right to charge us, right? So how we saying that this teacher of the small children is allowed to charge? So we say maybe we pay him for caring for children. I mean, like a babysitter. So like there is no free babysitters, like daycare center, right? So of course you need to pay them. Okay, so you pay them to this babysitter to take care of your child on one hand. On the other hand, in the meantime, he teaches them Torah. What could be better? what could be better, right? Alternatively, you pay them for pronunciation, the notes, right? Okay, it's not so this notes. It's not like absolutely obligated to know all of these notes, right? The notes mean cantillation, like when they read the Torah in shul, right, in a synagogue, and there is a special notes. That's the notes we're talking about. Is going to be like considered that we read from the Torah, for example, person is not professional Baal Koreh and he does not know the notes, so I mean he cannot memorize, it's too much to memorize, so I mean after the fact there is no problem, right? So he can do it without notes. So meaning what? So in some sense it's some extra, right? So for this extra, so he can charge. At the time there were a few of any written text, and the students were taught the entire Torah by heart. So that's a very interesting addition. So today we have books, and books are not that expensive. Everybody can buy books, or they can get somebody like sponsor. Other people they can sponsor books, and there is no problem, right? But in olden days there were no books, period, right? All of these books were on scroll. So to get even Chumash, like it was not so simple, right? And then so people knew the whole Torah by heart, right? So that's why he would teach them in cantillations. So they would go everything by heart. The difference between the two opinions is that according to the latter, one may also can charge adults. Adults meaning for pronunciation, right? Since the Rambam allowed the wage to be charged without qualifying his words, one may assume that this applies even to teaching adults. Okay, meaning for cantillation. This decision can also be derived from the commentary in the Mishnah Nedarim 4.3. Even though we're going to learn that Rambam was very against a Torah teacher to charge to teach other Torah, but it's very different. I mean, we're trying to compensate that person. If we don't compensate that, he's a very smart person. He's going to go to the business, and okay, he needs to feed his family. You don't want to pay him. That's fine. He's not asking for money, but we try to compensate his time for his time. So, I mean, we pay him. Let's say I don't know how much we pay him. Let's $40 an hour. Let's say $50. I don't know, $100 for an hour, right? To compensate, because why? If he go to business, he can make I don't know, $300 an hour. I don't know. I'm just saying, right? So we try to pay minimum, that minimum amount that he's allowed. He would agree to stay with us and taking care of us and our children, which is it's not a payment; it's a compensation for his time. Okay. So it was 46. So one more. Oh, no, continue. Actually, let me read this sentence, previous sentence one more time. In places where it is customary to receive the wage for teaching the written Torah, one is permitted to do so. Okay. However, it is forbidden to take wage for teaching the oral law. Oral law commentary. So oral law, as we said, all of these halachas, well, whatever, we learn oral law. So all of our classes, oral law. Okay. In his commentary to Nedarim 37a, Rabbi Nissim quotes Yerushalayim Talmud, which allows teachers of the Torah to receive compensation for that for the fact that were he not to teach, he could occupy himself in another profession, which would yield him a profit. So as we said, right? It's famous Yerushalmi. He could have been I don't know, some stockbroker. I don't know, whatever. Car dealer. The Hagachot Maimonid develops this matter further. note in the Ksubas 106a relates that the temple treasury would pay people to instruct the Kohanim regarding the loss of ritual slaughter. Okay, temple treasure. 1 second. The temple treasure would pay people to instruct the Kohanim slaughter. So basically, I mean, the Kohen, we have to understand the Kohanim that were performing all of these tasks, rituals in the Beis Hamikdash were not like professionals, right? They were divided in 24 groups, and they would go to temple twice a year, right? Twice a year for 1 week. That's it. So I mean, it's there were rotations, so different people would come. So the different kohanim, of course, they wanna go to the temple and go surf if they were qualified, let's say, physically fit and stuff like that. So of course, somebody had to train them. So they paid the person who would teach them how to do slaughtering from the temple treasury. He also notes that authors of the work of Torah scholars are allowed to demand pay for their services. Okay, this idea is quoted in Halachah by Shulchan Aruch and Rima, Yoreh Deatus 246.5. Nevertheless, it is highly unlikely that Rambam would accept such an opinion. Right, because Rambam was, as we said, he was against charging for the Torah, for teaching, Torah teaching. In his commentary to the Mishnah, he writes, according to our Torah, it is no way permitted to take a wage for teaching any one of the Torah professions. One of the Torah professions. Okay, I am amazed at men of stature who arose by desire, denied the truth, and had wages designated to themselves for the Torah decisions and teachings, using flimsy support. So all of these people, right, rabbis and scholars who receive money, so Rambam was very much against. So he was for people to go and make their own living. Right? Could everybody make their own living? Absolutely not. But he was a doctor. He was a very successful doctor. I mean, it's very interesting. He also see also citation from Rambam's commentary to ours below. Okay, we're going to get to it. Continue. As implied, okay. On time going back. However, it is forbidden to take wage for teaching oral law. Okay, we said that. As implied in 4:5. Behold, I have taught you the laws and statutes as God commanded me. So Moshe said, okay, as God commanded me for free, I'm giving you for free, basically. Commentary in the Nedarim, same place, interprets the verse to mean that Moshe taught the people at no cost. Okay. Just as I, Moshe, learned at no cost, so too have you been taught from me at no cost. Okay. Commentary. I have taught you at no cost. As God commanded, there is taught me at no cost. Moshe continues commanded people to emulate his example. Right? So I do and you do exactly the same. Continue. Teach the coming generation in a like manner. Teach them at no cost, as you have learned from me. Number 50. Though the resulting decision is the same, the Rambam interpretation of this passage differs slightly from Rabbeinu Asher and Rabbeinu Nissim. Okay, I mean, but it's the same. Continue. Nevertheless, if a person cannot find someone to teach him at no cost, he must pay for the studies, as implied by Proverbs 3:23, by the truth. Okay, truth is what is Torah. The only book that is called truth is Torah. Right. So if nobody is agreed to teach you for no cost, so you're allowed to pay. there is no problem. I mean, we have to buy the shoes, and it's not shoes is not free, of course. I mean, this will just if you just think practically. So if you want somebody to teach you, and let's say a person lives in your community and stuff like that, this rabbi or whoever, so he has to pay the mortgage, he has to pay the rent, he has to pay for gas, for electric, for all of this air conditioner, and he has to eat. So how you exactly you expecting him to eat from mom? Like live in a free apartment. Okay, if you buy him apartment, if you buy him a house, yeah, that helps. But still, he has to pay taxes, right? May he charge to teach others, right? So okay, so we say that you're allowed to pay. If he wants the demands pay, you're allowed to pay. But now the question on another side. May he charge to teach others? We learn Proverbs 3:23. Do not sell. Okay, to you it says buy, right? But to him it says do not sell. Thus it can be derived that it is forbidden to charge to teach Torah, even though one's teacher charges to instruct him. Okay, so just because a person cannot say, no, you know what, when I went to yeshiva, I paid a lot of money, and now I'm trying to get something back, so I'm going to charge you. It's not going to fly. That's not how we do. I mean, but of course, as we said, he's allowed to say that. I mean, not allowed. He's allowed to charge because if there is only way he's going to teach you to charge money, of course. I mean, what can you do? But okay. But Rambam say it's not a good explanation. It's not a good reason that he said I was charged, so now I'm going to charge you. That's not a good reason. Commentary. In his commentary to the Mishnah, Rambam interprets Perkei Avos 4:7, which states, "Do not take Torah, do not make it the Torah as an axe to chop with." Right? Axe meaning profession, any tool. Right? Do not consider it a medium with which to derive livelihood. That's the explanation. So, right? So don't make a Torah your primary meaning, primary parnasa. He continues elaborating on how it is both undesirable and forbidden to derive benefit from the Torah study or its instructions. Some people thought foolishly, so Rambam, now it's quote from Rambam. Some people thought foolishly that it is obligatory and fitting to support the wise men and students who occupy themselves in the Torah study. This is erroneous. So basically, if it take this quote directly from Rambam, so we have to close all of the yeshivas. I mean, kollels at least, right? When people are getting paid like stipends or something, right? Because all these rabbis who are in a position of the community, managing community, of course, they cannot be paid according to this. So Rambam, as we said, was very strict, very, very strict. He was very straightforward. No source in the Torah or in words of the sages can be found to support it. So Rambam is very clear. I mean, he said, I know all of the Torah. So there is no support you cannot find. And he knows the Torah and the Talmud, everything, right? And Mizrachi. Among the sages of the Talmud, one does not find that they ask for money from other people. Very interesting, right? They did not receive any funding for their precious and glorious yeshivas. So they did not receive any funding. Heaven forbid to say that those generations were not generous and did not give charity. So, but meaning if person wants to give charity, let them give charity, but they would not force it and would not ask. I mean, maybe they would ask, but okay, but let's see. Had the poor person stretched his hand, they would have filled this with gold and pearls. But the poor person did not do so. Rather, he was satisfied with what he could earn in his profession, whether little or a lot. So it's very interesting. So the Rambam is saying that so for poor people, like if they would just ask, they would be given many things. But what happened? They would not ask. They did not ask, right? So they preferred to be stay with whatever they have, whatever they could afford, in order not to ask the charity. And it's from Perkios. It's better, as they say, make your Shabbos like a weekday and do not ask for charity. Hillel the elder was a wood chopper who would study from Shmai and Avtalion and lived in extreme poverty. So Hillel, I mean, it was in the beginning. We don't know what happened later on, but in the beginning, yeah, as we know that he would make one coin, right, and then split it in two. Half of it he paid for the Torah study, right, to get into yeshiva, and the second he gave to his to his family. He was so great that his students were compared to Moshe and Aaron. There was no doubt that he had taught his people to give him benefit. There is no doubt that if he had taught his people to give him benefit, they would not have allowed him to continue chopping trees. So if he would ask for charity, they would give him. The sages would not allow themselves to take money from people. They considered taking such a funds as a desecration of God's name in public. That's how, like Rambam, as we say, he was very strict. But because the people would thus consider Torah as similar to any other profession and come to scorn it. Right? See also chapter 3, Halachah 10 and 11. So people would say, oh, okay, whatever is it, like a Torah, it's another business. And they charge money. I go to store, they charge me money. Okay, they charge me money for learning Torah. So what is the difference? So that's what Rambam said. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. So okay, the next halachah is very long. No, not very long, but it's time. Any questions on what we say or we did not say? Okay, if not, so we can stop here. Beezrat HaShem. So until tomorrow we're going to learn Halachos of Brachos. Beezrat HaShem.